time has come, today is the day. The time has come to show how we can play.
If you ever needed proof that the gap between the rich and the poor in football was growing ever wider, then this week has surely provided it. Manchester United signed Andy Cole for £7 million. Gillingham go into receivership. Cole overnight earned £1 million in signing on bonuses and what have you. His weekly wage £8,000 plus. Gillingham are losing £3,000 every week. And it's that financial situation that's brought in the receivers. But what do they actually do?
Our job is to take control of the company, usually the company in trouble, cut back in costs wherever possible, streamline it, simplify it, and maybe find a buyer. I'm hopeful that by the next couple of months we'll have identified someone who's interested in buying it, and we'll be able to convince the Football League that Gillingham is a viable entity over the long term.
Following meetings with the club's bankers, the future of Third Division Gillingham is assured at least to the end of this season. But with serious doubts surrounding their futures, how have the club's players reacted?
We've all got mortgages, some of us got children, so, you know, we all need the money. I don't really think it's affected confidence. Confidence is something that happens on the field, you know, in games, not really what happens on the money side. And we're not really worried about that as long as I say, we're going to get our wages, the playing staff is not going to be cut, the club is going to carry on, so we just get out there on a Saturday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday and just play the games.
Offers of help have poured into the club this week. Some of their lottery ticket sellers have donated their commission, local businesses have offered assistance, and fans have sent in money.
It's been very, very hectic. But for me personally, the main thing that's come out of it all is this overwhelming support from fans of all levels, from the lottery sellers who knock on the doors of all the people in the streets of Gillingham up to us, our main sponsors. It's been a very positive and overwhelming support.
There may still be long-term doubts over Gillingham's future, but one thing is for certain, they're not the only club in financial trouble. Perhaps now is the time, with all the millions of pounds swilling around this lovely game of ours, that football's ruling body should sort the game out once and for all. Perhaps regional leagues and part-time players are moving ever nearer. It was an appalling night, very cold, very windy and very, very wet. The turnout, though, was superb. The fans wanted to hear from the horse's mouth exactly what state the Third Division club is in. The supporters club hosted the evening and major shareholder Tony Smith was given a rapturous welcome.
I think people that know me, that really I'm a fan first and a director second. And during the last sort of 2 weeks that I've been more involved in the club, I've been really impressed with the groundswell of support.
The club's position is precarious, to say the least. £800,000 in debt, losing thousands more each week, next to bottom of the league and in the hands of the receiver. Tom Burton has the task of finding a buyer before the end of the season. If he fails, Gillingham are likely to be kicked out of the Football League.
We're still talking to the league about that. We're hopeful that we can get a sale, and that's what everybody's aiming for. And we'll cross that bridge if and when it comes.
The supporters club is doing its bit. They've given £2,500 towards players' wages and fundraising has been stepped up. But is it all enough?
Gut reaction says we will be in business next season. The supporters, when they hand you cheques for £100, a guy says how much does it cost for the floodlights tonight, and he gives you £50 in pound notes. These are the people who will really rally round, and I think on Saturday you'll find that the supporters will rally round and come in their numbers. I'm absolutely over the moon with what's gone on tonight.
And Tony Smith's reaction?
I'm a born optimist. I'm sure that a knight on a white charger come down and save this excellent club.
Paul Scally arrived at the Football League's London offices convinced his bid would finally save the Gills. A successful businessman, he's worked closely with major shareholder Tony Smith. It's believed that Smith will retain a huge financial interest in the club. Importantly, both men believe they can work together. The future of Priestville Stadium remains in doubt. Ideally, talks with the council could lead to Gillingham moving to a new site, but the deal is not dependent on the club moving. It's too early to know what effect the deal will have on the management and playing staff. While having presented his bid, Scally now faces an anxious wait.
The deal that has been done and has been agreed is obviously subject to Football League approval, and they've set a deadline of the 31st of May, whereby the club has to be out of receivership. This may not be possible, and we've asked for an extension of a few weeks just to conclude the business that's needed.
The Football League will say tomorrow if the bid is satisfactory. The deal has been on and off more often than the average light switch. 3 times the press conference was put back, but finally Paul Scally was at long last able to call the club his own.
The deal was actually completed and finalised at 2:59 this afternoon. So as of that moment, I became the new owner of the club, and I'm therefore proud to be on that basis.
Big stadium.
The lateness of the deal hasn't prevented Mr. Scally from reshaping the club. First came the appointment of a new manager. Former Gills player and Bournemouth manager Tony Pulis has been handed the task of rebuilding the team. It's already started. 3 signings were made today, including Fulham keeper Jim Stannard and Stevenage striker Leo Fortune West. Others are in the pipeline.
Tony's convinced me that the club's going places, and especially with Paul Scally as well taking over, putting money into the club, and he wants to see the club get promoted. So to me it was an incentive to, you know, I want to get promoted with a club. And Gillingham was the first choice, and I've taken it.
I played a few games for Barnet, and at the end of the last game, they made me an offer, which I accepted. Everything should have gone through. There was a slight hitch, and then it fell through. So I don't know, Gillingham appeared better facilities than Barnet, and obviously a club with a future.
I believe with the combination of myself, Tony Smith, who's agreed to stay on the board, and of course Tony Pulis, we have a very good chemistry that works for us. And I'm very excited. I believe we can bring success to the club on and off the pitch, and it's a success that obviously has been sadly lacking for many years.
Gillingham Football Club had been saved by Paul Scally, a long-time Millwall supporter. But over the next few months, he was to become a Gillingham man through and through. For Paul, one thing stands out from all the business deals that went down during the takeover.
I fell in love with the place, the people. I thought the people were different quality. That's the first impression I had. The second impression, I think, was it reminded me very much like the old den at Millwall, where I'd spent most of my 28 years as a supporter, all my 28 years as a supporter. I just felt that there was something more that couldn't be wasted in this club. There was something very special about this club, and it was almost a tragedy that they were in the position they were in. Now, that was the sort of the mind side and the heart, but of course then I had to look at the figures and the facts, and it had to stack up, and I wasn't under any pressure, fortunately, to take it over, because I was quite happy following Millwall as I had done. No reason to change. There was plenty of businesses I could go into. So I wasn't in the emotional state, if you like, of being a Gillingham supporter that had to rescue the club come what may, which allowed me, fortunately, to take a proper look at the club, put it in perspective as to what it was I was looking at, and assessing whether or not it had potential to take it forward.
Queues stretched around Priestfield Stadium 2 hours before kick-off. In footballing terms, this was the place to be. Premiership Chelsea were in town with all their big names. A huge capacity crowd and a large chunk of the world's media were drawn to see the first appearance in a Chelsea shirt of one of the greats, former Dutch World Cup star Ruud Gullit. The former AC Milan player has just signed with the London club, and he'll play in a new defensive role. First stop Gillingham, it was all music to the ears of the man who saved the club.
Didn't expect 3 weeks into the job I'd be hosting Chelsea with 2 big-name stars and arguably 10,000 people in the stadium. I mean, it's a smashing night. I'm delighted the way it's going and overwhelmed by it all, really.
In attack, Hullet still poses an enormous threat. His new job is a fine balance between seeking goals and preventing them. Ironically, it was a corner he conceded that led to Gillingham taking the lead. 10 minutes into the game, new signing Leo Fortune-West fired home to add to the carnival atmosphere. In the mood of optimism sweeping Gillingham, anything seemed possible. But reality was restored after 30 minutes. Dennis Wise fouled by Andy Arnott. Mark Steen made no mistake with the spot kick. Gillingham had chances to restore their lead, the best falling to Fortune-West. 4 minutes later, he was shown how to do it. Chelsea's other new signing is Welsh international Mark Hughes, and the former Man United star marked his debut with a stunning goal. Every player in the Gillingham squad got a taste of the big time, and they could be proud of their performance despite a harsh penalty award in the final minute. With the last kick of the match, Steen made it 3-1, but the Gills fans just couldn't wait to get near the Chelsea stars.
We've done Gillingham a favour today. I mean, you know, only a year ago was it just over, they looked as if they might be closing down. So financially, obviously, it's going to be a major asset to them. Come a little bit early, really. We used it really as a training game.
And what did Ruud Gullit make of it all? The Dutch master more used to the likes of the San Siro than Priestfield.
The pitch is all the same. It's all green. The only thing that matters is in the beginning that you fit well in the team. You get along with each other, and then that we are ready for the first game of the season.
Despite all the excitement of the Chelsea visit, Gillingham boss Tony Pulis still had his feet on the ground and knew there was a tough job ahead.
I've got no illusions. The job will be very, very difficult. I've just got to be very enthusiastic and make sure that enthusiasm spills over to the players. And if I can do that, a little bit of luck, then, you know, we'll do fair this year.
It may sound an odd thing to say now, but I always believed we'd get promoted last year. I had no doubt about that at all. I mean, it's on record that I had a £7,500 NG League insurance bet that produced £120,000 of premium return, which was very comfortable, helped pay the bonuses at the end of May.
With just 24 hours to the new season, it was all going so well for club owner Paul Scally. The team were looking good in training, but then we found out they didn't have any kit.
Well, it's a mixture of wrong colour, wrong size, wrong design, and the numbers on the back have not been put on correctly and have screwed the back of the shirts up as well. So other than that, and the fact that they sent tennis shorts instead of football shorts, it was all right.
It's a good deal then?
I was very pleased with it.
So where...
The overall deal that we're doing for a kit supply was a smashing deal. But of course, some might turn around now and say, well, it's not that smashing a deal with no shirts to play in tomorrow. I have to take the blame for that. I changed the company from the original suppliers. I still stand by the deal that I did. I'm more disappointed than probably most people that things have gone wrong. But we didn't actually order the shirts because of the receivership until the 1st of July. So it was a fairly tight order to start with.
So what are the boys playing tomorrow?
Well, skins at the moment. No, we've got last season's kit, which we're able to use, obviously. We'll be using that for the Bristol Rovers and the game tomorrow against Wigan. And we'll have the new kit ready for the Cambridge game on August the 26th.
No matter what the players wore, nearly 4,000 Gills fans turned out for the opening game against Wigan. They gave a grateful welcome to the club's new owner, Paul Scally, whose 2 sons shared the mascot duties. They enjoyed the day despite their team going a goal down. 2 Spaniards combined for the strike. Jesus Seba with the pass, Roberto Martinez the scorer. The Kent side equalised straight after the half-time interval. Not a spectacular goal, but Leo Fortune-West causing chaos. Adrian Foster with the final touch. New signing David Martin gave away a penalty, but was lucky enough to watch Wigan waste the opportunity. And the Gills made the most of their good fortune when Fortune-West got one of his long legs onto the ball to hit the winner. Gillingham 2, Wigan 1. For the second game running over 4,000, again at Priestfield, this time first round, first leg of the Coca-Cola Cup. Gillingham a goal down when Bristol Rovers made the most of a corner. But once again, Gillingham came fighting back. Dominic Naylor equalised from a free kick with the help of a deflection. The Gills strive to gain a first leg lead over their second division opponents, but were probably happy to settle for the 1-1 draw. It's early days, but the signs really are encouraging for Tony Pulis's revamped side. Leo Fortune West already looks a bargain with his second goal for the club. And the $50,000 spent on Dennis Bailey also looks a stunning deal. He scored a debut goal that helped Gillingham go top of the table. Lincoln got themselves into a real tizzy with Brightwell scoring an own goal. It means the Gills are one of only 5 clubs in the Ensley League with a 100% record. Lincoln 0, Gillingham 3. The red-shirted Gills started the second leg at Bristol Rovers all square at 1 apiece. It didn't last though. Marcus Stewart grabbed the first of 3 goals after just 80 seconds. Midway through the half, Gillingham drew level. Leo Fortune West headed. Dennis Bailey scored for the second match running. But with 69 minutes gone, Gills keeper Jim Stannard undid all his previous good work when he failed to hold on to the ball and Paul Miller put Rovers ahead. The match was put beyond Gillingham 2 minutes later after a goalmouth scramble. Stewart hit his second of the night. Gills 3-1 down. Big Leo rekindled some hope with his third goal in 4 games, but it wasn't going to be Gillingham's night. Rovers had the final word with Stewart completing a hat-trick 5 minutes from time. A 4-2 defeat for Gillingham, 5-3 on aggregate and out of the competition. But they're still top of the 3rd division. Rovers 4, Gillingham 2. It took Gillingham an hour to find the back of the net against Cambridge. Striker Leo Fortune West with his 4th goal of the season. And it was the big man again who set up the second a few minutes later. Another new signing, Dennis Bailey, scoring his 3rd of the season. Gillingham sealed the match with the 3rd on the stroke of time from Kevin Rattray. And would you believe it, Gillingham top of the league and the only 3rd division club with an unbeaten record. Gills 3, Cambridge United 0. The Gills go marching on. A well-worked goal from Kevin Rattray gave them the lead against Barnet. Their second goal was something special. A super free kick from Dominic Naylor. Gillingham's 10th goal of the season and one to celebrate as they stand proudly at the top of Division 3. Played 4, won 4. Barnet 0, Gillingham 2.
Despite their early departure from the Coca-Cola Cup, the Gills delighted with the start of the new season. Unbeaten in 4, with the wins on the road at Lincoln and Barnet catching the eye. A 4-point lead at the top of the table, and no doubt that big Jim Stannard happy to see the Gills above his old club, Fulham. Leo Fortune West top of the scoring chart with 4 goals in 6 matches and already a big hit with the fans.
A couple of months ago, Gillingham Football Club was 24 hours away from going out of business. Now it's flying high and attracted a crowd of almost 8,000 to the game against Colchester United. New owner and chairman Paul Scally is rightly proud to welcome visitors to the newly built Directors' Lounge and equally proud of what the club has achieved in such a short space of time.
I think the spirit in the club is high at the moment and people are walking around with smiles on their faces in the offices, and we're now managing to move forward administratively. But it's very difficult. We're still a long way behind. There's a backlog of work that's been left to us from the receivership, really, which still has to be done. And we are lacking the right number of staff really to do that work. But we're working very hard. We're full-time, long hours and long days, and I'm quite sure that by Christmas we'll have all the necessary people in place and the systems in place.
On the field, the current playing staff bears little resemblance to last season's. Tony Pulis, the former Bournemouth manager, appointed Gillingham boss just before the season started, has recruited a lot of players. 8 of this team weren't with the club until the summer. Most of the new signings are real bargains. Striker Leo Fortune West, for instance, a £5,000 buy from non-league Stevenage and scorer of 4 goals already. And Dennis Bailey, who joined from Premiership Queen's Park Rangers in a deal that will cost the Kent club around £50,000. Their developing strike partnership didn't succeed against Colchester, but it wasn't for the want of trying. Fortune West went close, but not close enough. While that was happening, this was Chairman Scally's reaction. He tries to remain calm in the stand, but doesn't always succeed. Football is increasingly a business, but it remains an emotional game. For all Gillingham's efforts, their 100% record came to an end. A rare back-pass mistake by reliable defender Tony Butler let in Colchester. 76 minutes gone. Tony Adcock, the man on target. The chairman can't hide his disappointment. Defeat stares him in the face. Manager Pulis simply calls for ever greater effort. The players respond well, but it simply wasn't their day. After 4 consecutive league victories, Gillingham have to cope with a 1-0 defeat.
Well, if someone had said to me that, before the season started that we're only going to lose 1 in 5 games, then I would have been well pleased. We're disappointed. I'm absolutely gutted at the moment because I honestly thought we were going to beat Colchester today.
Today was difficult because I always thought we would score actually, but as the game went on and it turned slightly, it's gone badly wrong for me today. So not a good weekend, I'm afraid.
Still third division leaders though, and they went to Scunthorpe but got off to a bad start. A goal down after 5 minutes, Jim Stannard beaten by Hope. But Gillingham's hopes of staying at the top of the table were turned into fact when Dennis Bailey equalised just 1 minute later, his 4th goal of the season. 1-1 it stayed, Gillingham stay top. The Medway club returned to winning ways with a single-goal victory over Cardiff City. A crowd of over 5,300 turned out at Priestfield. They saw Leo Fortune West battle his way to his 5th goal of the season. 3 points for the Gills. They stay in 2nd spot, 2 points behind leaders Chester. Gillingham 1, Cardiff 0. Next up, a trip to Chester, the only team above them in Division 3. Gills a goal down 9 minutes into the second half. But they secured a point 5 minutes from time when David Martin hit his 1st goal of the season. 1-1 it finished. Gillingham stay second, 2 points behind the leaders. Back down to Priestfield and over 6,000 saw Gillingham take on Bury. Number 11, Mark O'Connor, had an outstanding game, setting up all 3 goals. Dennis Bailey got the first early in the second half, his 4th of the season. Strike partner Leo Fortune West also benefited from the winger's work. He scored twice in the last 11 minutes of the game to take his season's goal tally to 7. 3-0 to the Gills. They're back on top of the 3rd division table.
A month into the season and the Gills suffer their first defeat, going down 1-0 at home to Colchester, but they bounce back and remain unbeaten for the rest of September. And for the 2nd month running, the team that so nearly went out of business lead the way in the 3rd division. 10 games played and only 4 goals against. Leo's still the man on the goals front, the fortune hunter with 7 in just 12 games.
Now, how about this? So many people turned up to watch Gillingham. The kick-off had to be put back 15 minutes because of traffic problems. It's a novel experience for the Gills, and they soon rewarded their fans with some positive football. Dennis Bailey caused problems for the Rochdale defence. But in the 27th minute, the Gills' pressure paid off from Mark O'Connor's corner. Alex Watson heading home his 1st goal for the club. The Gills will be keen to hold on to Watson, who's on loan from Bournemouth. Dominic Naylor then set up the Gills' leading scorer Leo Fortune West with a chance, but the big striker's shot was comfortably saved by Ian Gray. Gillingham started the next match at the top of the 3rd division. Despite losing 1-0 at Darlington, they still head the table at the end, but their lead had been cut to 1 point. Only a 2nd defeat in 12 league matches for the Gills. Away from the league, Gillingham at Cardiff. Darren Freeman with his 1st senior goal in bravely after the keeper's good save. But the Welsh side was soon back on terms, a nicely worked opening for Carl Dale. Into the second half, and Gillingham back in front from the penalty spot, Adrian Foster on target. Then 2 players given red cards following an off-camera fracas. Cardiff's Paul Harding and Gillingham's Dave Martin dismissed. Gills suffered most. Darren Adams levelled the scores, and with just a minute to go, Dale got the Welshman's winner. Gillingham must now beat Hereford at home to go through. Cardiff 3, Gillingham 2. Leo Fortune West is not yet the best-known footballer, but he is a great favourite with the Gillingham crowd and the supporters club who paid his transfer fee. The fans that arrive early for the games, including the mascot, will see the big striker first on the pitch to warm up. Nothing is left to chance, Muscles must be stretched, ready for the battle ahead. And that's how the fans see Leo, a real fighter for their cause. He was signed by manager Tony Pulis, who received his September Manager of the Month award just before kick-off. And what a bargain the £5,000 man appears to be. He's tough. He's not afraid to get stuck in. He never gives up. And is always in the thick of things. He doesn't score in every game, of course. This 4-0 win doesn't see his name on the score sheet, but he's invaluable for the team effort. Gillingham took the lead through Mark O'Connor, helped by a deflection with 25 minutes gone, and the division leaders on their way. All of Fortune West's aggression was on show as he powered in a header moments later. The keeper beaten, the bar in the way. A second Gillingham goal came after a spell of pressure early in the second half. Simon Ratcliffe hooked in his first goal of the season. 63 minutes gone and Gillingham stretched that lead to 3-0. Dennis Bailey cost 10 times more than Leo, but is still a snip at £50,000. This was his 6th goal in 14 games. And the Gills' biggest win of the season so far was completed in the 77th minute. Mark Harris bundled the ball home. 4-0 to Gillingham, they're now 3 points clear at the top of the table. And what a difference a year makes. 12 months ago, Leo Fortune West was a non-league player.
I was still at Bishop Stortford, top goal scorer in the Diodora League.
And working for a living?
No, I was a full-time student. Yeah.
Really?
That's right, yeah.
Doing what?
University of Greenwich, Urban and Environmental Studies.
Is that all gone now, or are you still trying to do it?
I've had to defer for a year. I mean, I couldn't do 2 full-time jobs at the same time, so I've deferred for a year.
Have you found it difficult being full-time pro?
I mean, it's only 3 months, so it's still too early to tell. I mean, luckily, what's hoping is that we're doing well. But I mean, you know, hopefully, come March time, I'll have settled in more.
With all the media attention, obviously, you know, he's a big lad who's come onto the scenes from nowhere, and everybody wants to know about him. It's very, very important that he keeps very level-headed, keeps his feet on the ground and keeps doing what he's been doing. And then the success will spread from there.
And the fans' verdict?
We paid for him. At the end of the day, it's one of the best moves the supporters have ever done at this club.
He's a great player.
He's the best.
Very, very good.
Give him a lot of defences in trouble. Yeah, he'll do all right.
And a word about the fans, because they adore you.
I mean, for Division 3 side, we've got, you know, easily the best fans anywhere. They are really good.
Great way of earning a living, isn't it?
It's nice, it's nice. Hopefully keep up.
At well over 6 feet in height, Big Leo is not a player you can miss. The Hartlepool defender certainly didn't miss him. A penalty to Gillingham. And it was another black player, Dennis Bailey, who converted the kick to give Gillingham the lead at Hartlepool. And Bailey, along with Fortune West, according to Chairman Paul Scally, were the targets of racial abuse.
It seemed to start more or less from the first kick-off, and as the game went on, the referee made a few decisions that perhaps weren't favourable to the crowd. The crowd seemed to get angrier, and the racial abuse seemed to get worse. But quite clearly, in the 28 years I've been watching football, it's the worst racial abuse I've ever experienced. The FA are already investigating some racial abuse that we suffered 2 weeks before at Darlington. And that was quite bad, but Hartlepool really made that look like a McDonald's tea party.
Hartlepool drew the match with Gillingham, and their chairman refutes the Gillingham allegations that some of his club's fans are racist. He's accused Fortune West of making gestures to the crowd.
I was here at the match, thoroughly disillusioned with the referee, but our crowd were, as usual, vociferous, no problems at all. We have never had racial trouble. We have played many teams this season with coloured players in, no problem at all. But if the team that comes brings players down intent on inciting the crowd, they must get a reaction to that.
Some people say
we have to accept abuse as part of the game. Why?
There is still a racist problem in football. High-profile sportsmen are being used in TV commercials to encourage fans to treat everyone equally. But Gillingham's recent experiences at Hartlepool and Darlington seem to suggest the cut racism out of football scheme still has some way to go.
Now, I'm not talking about 1 or 2 people, I'm talking about a number, probably several hundred people behind the goal, which is their hardcore vocal support, chanting songs like "Get the Monkey Off the Pitch," etc. Now, I don't call that anything but racial abuse, and I think it's disgraceful.
Third Division leaders Gillingham are going well on the field, though. The weekend trek to Hartlepool was followed by a long journey to Exeter. Gills thought they'd made the ideal start when Dennis Bailey put the ball into the net after a couple of minutes, but the referee pointed to Bailey's positioning and disallowed the strike, presumably for offside. The replay doesn't back up the official's decision, and Gillingham appear to have been denied a perfectly good goal. There's some debate also as to the correctness of the ref's decision to book Neil Smith. He certainly got the ball in the tackle, but appeared to be guilty of nothing more than standing up when the Exeter player fell over him. Right or wrong, however, Smith got a yellow card. Although the game ended goalless, Gillingham went close through midfielder Simon Ratcliffe, but then they were grateful to a post for keeping Exeter at bay. 1 point earned, enough though to keep Gillingham well and truly at the top of Division 3.
So problems at both Darlington and Hartlepool, but the players are able to pull together and come through the month of October with only 1 defeat, and the promotion push still on the rails. 15 games gone, 29 points in the bag and still top of the table, although Preston closing the gap to just 1 point, and they're looking good. Dennis Bailey, a £50,000 bargain from QPR, joins Leo Fortune West on 7 goals for the season.
Gillingham started the next weekend as third division leaders, but their third successive drawn match saw them drop to third place. They went close on occasions and enjoyed long spells of pressure, but the Northampton defence simply didn't weaken. Gillingham's best chance of victory came 15 minutes from time. Adrian Foster wrestled to the floor. Dennis Bailey with the penalty kick. The outcome summed up Gillingham's day. Once again goalless, Gillingham now 1 point off the top of the table in third spot. Away from the league, just under 2,000 turned out at Priestfield for the game with Hereford. They saw the Gills take the league midway through the first half, Tony Butler on target. On the stroke of half-time, that lead was extended and Gillingham appeared to be on their way to victory. Adrian Foster, this time with the goal. Hereford had other ideas, though. 8 minutes after the break, the home defence was breached for the first time. A right-wing cross, not the tightest of marking by Gillingham. And Gary Stoker allowed a free header that squeezed in by the post. 7 minutes from time, Hereford were given a chance to level the tie. Butler tripped the attacker. No doubt in the ref's mind, a penalty. Dean Smith stepped up for the kick. Goalkeeper Alan Nichols, signed from Plymouth on a monthly contract, given no chance. Gillingham 2, Hereford 2, the final score. The Gills out of the Auto Windscreen Trophy. Well, this is Priestfield, home of Gillingham. Midweek afternoon, this is where you get your tickets. Ticket office closed. We'll try the turnstiles. And look at these in the main stand. No, have to try some others. Ah, here's a turnstile open. See what it is. Hello there, how much?
Hello, £2, please.
£2. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, see you later.
Thank you.
There we are, 2 o'clock kick-off. £2. Better be a good game. While the crowd is finding out how to get in the ground, the players are preparing for the match against Peterborough reserves. All reserve teams are a mixture of first-teamers having a run-out and young lads trying to make their way in the game. For instance, Leo Fortune West has completed a 3-match ban and needs match practice before a probable return to the first team this Saturday. A few more might watch that game. While 17-year-old Chris Halls is playing only his second match at this exalted level. He's with the club on a 2-year YTS scheme, earns £45 a week, and according to his watching father, is desperate to become a full-time pro.
They have to go to college as part of their YTS, and my understanding from that is that it's very difficult for them to concentrate on anything other than football, and it's very difficult as a father to actually make his feet be firmly on the ground and understand that the chances of making it in football are pretty remote. But at the end of the day, his heart is solely set on being a footballer.
Fortune West has made it. He scored in Gills' 4-1 win, and although subbed in the second half, was pleased with his comeback.
I thought I worked hard today, especially in the first half. I felt the pace after about 40 minutes, but, you know, I got my second breather and done okay.
Kevin Bremner runs Gillingham's reserve team. It's his responsibility to bring the youngsters on. The club places a high value on these sort of games. They're not played for the benefit of the fans. A mere 47 turned up for this one, but for the players like Chris Hall.
It's a tough life. There's 19 YTS lads here, and if 3 of them make it, we'll be very, very lucky.
Pre-season was quite hard, but got over that quite well. And now we're just basically playing football every day, do a bit of running, but it's still quite hard. I'm enjoying it though.
And you're on what, a 2-year course?
A 2-year contract, yeah. It's better than school.
Back in the big time, having drawn their 3 previous league matches, Gillingham would have been thrilled and relieved to have taken a 26-minute lead at Scarborough through Richard Green. 3 minutes later, Gillingham wrapped up the match with Leo Fortune West scoring on his return to the first team after that 3-match suspension. 2-0 to Gillingham. They're now second in Division 3, 1 point behind the leaders. Big Jim Stannard left Fulham during the summer, having played over 400 games for them. This was his first chance to meet up with former teammates, and the Gills keeper made the most of it. But the enjoyment hit another emotion.
I'm quite nervous, really. You know, this is a big one for me, as far as I'm concerned. I want to get a result here today, and you know, at the same time, get a clean sheet. But you know, at the end of the day, if we win 4-3, I'll be happy.
Some supporters at Gillingham were surprised at his summer signing, but the 33-year-old keeper has been a revelation. 11 clean sheets in 17 league matches is serious goalkeeping from a man who enjoys larking about. But once the game is underway, the joking stops. He's reported to be the heaviest player in the Football League, but when it matters, he can fly with the best of them. And despite his claims of nerves, appears to be the calmest player on the pitch. 4 minutes before half-time, Dennis Bailey was fouled, a penalty, and joy for Gillingham, although you'd never know it from Jim's reaction. Bailey denied for the second penalty in succession, but hardly a flicker from his big teammate at the other end. At the start of the second half, Fulham boss, former Southampton manager Ian Brandfoot, watches the yellow card tally rise to 9. The 10th is a second for Fulham's Nick Cusack. Mark Harris, the injured party, a clear elbow in the face during the jump. The referee sees red and Fulham down to 10 men, a decision the experienced Stannard totally agrees with. Central defender Harris recovered, eventually, and Gillingham stepped up their efforts. 4 minutes later, they won the game. A crunching tackle by captain Dave Martin set up Leo Fortune West. Gillingham's leading scorer hit his 11th goal of the season. Not so cool Jim, impressed. And his friends behind the goal, the fans, look forward to probable victory over niggling opponents. The referee's busy afternoon reached a climax in the 89th minute. A bad tackle by number 7 Martin Thomas sent Mark O'Connor into hospital with a suspected break. Just about everybody concerned with the game got involved. At one stage, 17 players wanted their say, including the keeper. When order was restored, the one man with an opinion that really matters, the referee, sent off number 4, Martin Gray. Fortunately, full time was called moments after play was restarted.
Looked like a 0-0 draw all over, didn't it? And also, Leo's picked it out of the bag. Great goal, but we missed the penalty. Great save from Tony Lang. But at the end of the day, 3 points. Could take us top, I don't know.
He's a fit lad. Take away, you know, people call it Big Fat Jim, and, you know, he's because of his size. But I'll tell you what, he works tremendously hard. His training is first class, and he's great around the dressing room as well. He's got tremendous character. He's a big, honest lad who does, you know, he sets the place alight for us.
But despite another clean sheet from Jim Stannard, the game will be remembered for the terrible tackle on Mark O'Connor, which broke his leg and led to a number of players getting involved in a little pushing and shoving. Both clubs would be brought before the FA to answer for their actions.
I wasn't surprised that we got charged. I wasn't particularly too concerned about that, because I think it was a strange old game. I mean, it was just, you know, people will automatically blame the referee. They'll say he lost control of it, etc. Well, he's an easy target, really, and I'm not a great referee knocker anyway. I think they've got a difficult job to do. I think at the end of the day, one man can't stop a fight, if you like. You can't stop 22 people misbehaving, if you like. And what caused that is a mixture of events, really. Well, I think what disappointed me was when we went to the commission hearing, we had all the evidence, we had a police chief, We had the referee even spoke very well on our behalf. Mike Bailey, the referee of the day. We had several witnesses. We had a lot of video evidence, and when you took the video evidence frame by frame, you didn't see one Gillingham player actually raise a punch, or all you actually saw was Gillingham players stop what happened, even down to Jim Stannard, who ran 50 yards because he saw the Fulham centre-half, who he played with, don't forget, for 10 years, made a long, long dash to get involved in something that he wasn't ever involved in. And we saw it from different angles and everything. And I feel it's criminal that we were punished in the same manner as Fulham, when quite clearly the liability was fairly stacked in Fulham's favour. And I think that's what's disappointed me, is that the fact we've been punished equally must mean that the FA Commission felt we were equally to blame. And not based on the evidence that I saw would any court of law ever say that was the case. And that's the basis on why we're appealing against that decision. The punishment, in actual fact, was a warning. I think it was a warning as to our future conduct, which in itself is pretty insignificant. But this is a football club that has never been in trouble before, never had a disciplinary record with the FA, against a club that is under a warning at the moment, or was under a warning. And my issue is not with Fulham. You know, it's my case against the FA and Fulham's case against the FA. But based on the evidence on the day, there's no way that a commission could have possibly found us equally culpable.
The FA hearing was to drag on throughout the season, but manager Tony Pulis was hell-bent on getting his players to focus on the job in hand, escape from the 3rd division. 3rd at the end of November, the Gills' lowest position since the start of the season, but only 1 point covering the top 3. Leo Fortune West back on the score sheet after missing 3 games through suspension, his 9th of the season.
Early December, just the 1 goal at Gig Lane and a setback in Gillingham's promotion plans. Hardly the best build-up by Bury, and not one for the meanest defence in the league to remember fondly. Tony Rigby's winner, Gillingham are 3rd, 2 points off the top. Bury 1, Gillingham 0. Yet another away game, Gillingham once again in red, and the long trip north to Preston, the team 1 point and 1 place above them in Division 3. Dennis Bailey just wide, and Preston responded by putting Gillingham under pressure, but could only find the side netting. A big crowd enjoyed the sight of Gills keeper Jim Stannard showing the outfield players just how to dribble. It's a sort of display that managers appreciate on the training pitch, but don't relish so much in the heat of battle. Gillingham's new striker, Steve Butler, made his debut, but he won't have been happy with this free kick. But Stannard was relieved to see this effort clear his bar. It was a similar story in the second half. Neither side could break the deadlock. Simon Ratcliffe headed wide. 2 minutes from time, Gillingham almost snatched a winner, but Dave Martin's header was tipped over the bar. Over 10,000 saw the game. Gillingham stay 3rd. Preston 0, Gillingham 0. Back at Priestfield, nearly 10,000 turned up to see Gillingham return to the top of Division 3. It was a great way to celebrate Christmas, but it has to be said there was little festive spirit on the field. Within 30 seconds of the kick-off, Plymouth's Chris Ledbetter found his name in the ref's book for a lunging tackle on Richard Green. It set the tone for the match with 6 cards shown. Gill's best first-half chance came after a promising build-up from Dominic Naylor. A new signing, Steve Butler's flick just high. 7 minutes from time, Gills forced a corner. Big Leo's header was brilliantly saved, not by the goalkeeper, but defender Gary Clayton. He was sent off for deliberate handball, and Steve Butler stepped up for the resulting penalty. He scored his first goal for his new club. A goal that put Gillingham clear at the top of the table by 1 point, and promotion very much on their minds as 1996 approaches.
So Gillingham seeing 1995 out with an important win over Plymouth after dropping points on their travels at both Bury and Preston. And who would have thought back in August that the Gills would be top of the 3rd division going into the new year? Much of the credit must go to the defence, who in 21 games have conceded just 7 goals. Steve Butler's back in Kent and making a mark in just his 2nd game for the Gills.
It was almost a dream. It was almost, I couldn't comprehend that this success that we brought so early to the club. And I can't explain it other than the fact that I feel that as a club, as a team, as a group of people, we gel together so well. We're very sort of clear about our objectives.
Happy New Year, and Gillingham played some neat, fluid football against Leyton Orient. And although this move came to nothing in the end, they made up for it in the 22nd minute. A patient build-up on the right, across to Leo Fortune West. And that was enough for today's inevitable headline, Leo is worth a fortune. It was the big man's 12th goal of the season and puts Gillingham back on top of Division 3. But it's in defence that Gillingham are showing their true mettle. Another clean sheet against Orient means they've only conceded 7 goals all season. And that's easily the best defensive record in the entire Football League. Next game back home at Priestfield, and as far as the first half was concerned, the game was as close as you'd expect from the division's top 2 teams. Both created half chances, neither could find the net. The Gills attack did well, Dennis Bailey's cross met by David Martin, but the skipper's header just wide. Keeper Jim Stannard showed why the Kent team have the best defensive record in English League football, just 7 goals conceded in 22 matches. Gillingham's charge back to the top of the table began with the second half just 4 minutes old. Steve Butler steering the ball in by the post. Mark Harris headed the ball on, Butler quickest to react for a real striker's goal. That lead was protected by yet another fine save by Big Jim. Chester weren't going to let their top spot go easily. But Gillingham simply powered their way to victory. Stannard's huge kick was headed on by Leo Fortune West. Butler's accuracy did the rest. 2 goals in 6 minutes by the new £100,000 signing effectively secured the points with less than an hour played. And he almost hit a third when the Chester keeper made a poor clearance, but Billy Stewart made amends with his save. The 33-year-old striker wasn't to be denied, though. He capitalised on a defensive error to complete his personal hat-trick. Once again, his calmness in front of goal paid rich dividends. And then something unusual happened. Gillingham conceded a league goal. Only the 3rd at home in 11 matches and the 1st at Priestfield since September the 2nd. It didn't matter. Gillingham won 3-1. They were back on top.
I actually give the lads a little bit of a roasting at full time, because I thought we took the pedal off the last 15 minutes and we sat back a little bit and just, you know, we've got a responsibility to keep our shape and keep passing the ball. And when we did pass the ball, we caused all sorts of problems for Chester. But people just took their foot off the pedal and relaxed. We relaxed a bit.
Not a bad win, though.
Very, very pleased, Jeff.
As the Gillingham players gather in the dressing room for the game against Lincoln, physiotherapist Wayne Jones begins the job of massaging the players' limbs and joints and their confidence. The message seems to be, if the player thinks something will help, then do it. Keeper Jim Stannard was first into the treatment room.
I think it's partly superstitious and partly to support his ankles during matches. And hopefully, if we keep on doing it, he'll give us a few more clean sheets, but we'll have to wait and see for that.
Next on the table, midfielder Simon Ratcliffe. Tight muscles after 2 tough matches, a rub-down recommended.
It's a sports cream that just warms it up a little bit. Not too hot. As I say, it's only superficial. It doesn't go deep into the tissues, but it just gets the blood flowing a bit.
Hey, Wayne's working. How do it, boys?
Just sit down and be quiet, you Butler.
Enter defender Tony Butler. He's got a hairline fracture at the base of his spine, but it's not as serious as it sounds.
It's just a case of, just means your back aches all the time. And it's just a case of resting it to get better. But like as Wayne just said before, no one really wants to be out of this team at the moment. So said hopefully.
It's an injury, Jeff, where it is painful, but if you can put up with the pain and get through the match, you're not going to do any more damage to it.
With the players as fit as any at this time of the season, Wayne and the Gillingham management team make for the bench in their latest important match. 14 minutes into the game, the Kent side take the lead. Leo Fortune West bundles the ball in for his 13th goal of the season. Not bad for a player who cost a mere £5,000, and Gillingham are on their way. Dominic Naylor supplied the cross, Leo did the rest. Hardly a flicker from the physio, but I assure you he's as pleased as Punch. He's much more animated when one of his players gets hurt. Seconds before half-time, skipper David Martin is injured in a tackle. Wayne rushes on to find out the damage, and he's wearing our microphone.
Let's have a look, Dave. Stay there. Let's have a look. Dave, all right, Dave, I'm not going to touch you.
He says he's all right, but he's wrong. The stretcher comes on, a deep cut on the leg means hospital, and it hurts.
Hey, leave it there. It's not. Hey, put it there.
Minutes later, David Martin is heading for the ambulance and on his way to hospital. The Gillingham team reorganises at half-time, but it's 8 minutes from the final whistle before they make sure of victory. Steve Butler sets it up. Simon Ratcliffe scores a cracker. The earlier work with the physio on his legs obviously did the trick. Match over, Gillingham 2, Lincoln 0, and Gillingham 5 points clear at the top of the table. And the warrior, Dave Martin, is back from hospital.
They've stitched me up. I've had about 12 stitches in my ankle. And hopefully it'll be all right for next week. Obviously I'm suspended next week, but it'll be all right to train.
A knock in the face for the opening scorer was the only other problem for the physio.
Leo had a bang on his nose, a little bloody. OK, no problem. A little bit concussed, if you like, or a little bit groggy, but no after effects. Although he came off quite soon afterwards, didn't he? The manager brought him off.
And all the other players you worked on all survived, so you did something right?
Yeah, we've got a couple of little tight hamstrings. Dennis has got a little tight hamstring there, and he came off as a precautionary thing. But all in all, good result, and from an injury point of view, apart from David, no problems.
The third division leaders travelled north to Wigan next and roared into the lead after just 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Richard Green crashing the ball home for the quickest league goal of the day. But 3 minutes later, the scores were level. Graham Lancashire on target on his Wigan debut. Midway through the second half, a unique event. For the first time this season, Gillingham conceded a second goal in a league match. The Spaniard, Diaz, scored Wigan's winner. Despite the defeat, Gillingham stay top, 8 points above the playoff zone. You'd expect the division leaders to beat a team 8th from the bottom, and so it proved. It took a double save by the visiting keeper to deny first Steve Butler, then Dennis Bailey after a quarter of an hour. But the Kent team weren't kept at bay for long. The resulting corner was bundled into the net by Kevin Rattray. The midfielder has been out with injury recently. He was delighted to hit his third goal of the season. 8 minutes later, the game was as good as won. Gary Micklewhite with the free kick, Tony Butler with the header. His second goal of the season, a forceful dive, not bad for a player with a hairline fracture in his back. No further scoring. The main second-half incident was the ordering from the dugout of the Mansfield manager, Andy King. It's thought the linesman called the ref's attention to something the manager said. No doubt about the end result, though. A long march across the pitch, a couple of stops on the way, then a seat in the front row of the main stand for the rest of the game. It didn't affect the result, 2-0 to Gillingham. They're 4 points clear at the top and a massive 11 points ahead of the playoff zone.
We've just got to consolidate ourselves at the top, and that's where we want to go up. We don't want to go up as second or third, we want to go up as champions, and that's what the lads are striving for.
We're not that far clear, and things can change very, very quickly in football, and you've got to be very level. The players have got to be level, and I think they are. It's a smashing dressing room at the present moment. When you think we've got 4 players out suspended and 2 or 3 others injured, you know, it says a lot for the depth of the squad that they could put the performance on that they did tonight, which is pleasing for everybody.
2 things stand out in the month of January. In the top-of-the-table clash with Chester, the Gills concede a goal at home, but won 3-1. They also let in 2 at Wigan, the first time that's happened. Defeat at Wigan, the only hiccup in January, but wins over Chester, Lincoln and Mansfield mean they're in top spot once again. Leo continues to lead the way in the race to be top scorer. This one against Orient, his 12th of the season.
Despite a goalless draw at Cambridge, Gillingham remain top of the table. This effort from Leo Fortune West was their best, but questions are being asked about their disciplinary record. 2 players sent off, skipper Simon Ratcliffe for a foul on Paul Rayner, then Fortune West for elbowing Les Palmer. Gillingham have now had 6 players sent off and have already equalled their worst record for red cards in a season. The Division 3 leaders then took on struggling Torquay, the Football League's bottom club. It took the Gills just 6 minutes to gain the lead, Neil Smith hitting only his 9th goal in more than 150 matches. 20 minutes later, it was 2-0. Simon Ratcliffe played a 1-2 with Smith before shooting through the keeper's legs. No further scoring, although Steve Butler went close in the second half. 2-0 to Gillingham. They lead the division by 5 points, and they're now 13 ahead of the promotion playoffs. It was a bitterly cold night, but the Gillingham fans in the crowd of 6,500 were soon warmed up by a goal. Steve Butler scored after 10 minutes. His 5th goal in 10 matches since joining the club for £100,000. No wonder he's become a crowd favourite. The club's poor disciplinary record wasn't helped by referee Graham Barber booking Neil Smith. And in the second half, Simon Ratcliffe also received a yellow card. Neither player happy with the decisions. Gillingham were happy with their win, though, but Barnet did enough to deserve at least a draw. Sean Devine hit the Gillingham post and then shot inches wide. And 10 minutes before the end, the Gillingham bar was rattled by a header from Lee Hodges. But it finished 1-0 and Gillingham goes striding on.
Teams come down here and obviously we're top of the league, so we're there to be shot at. But, you know, at the moment we're, getting results. That's the only thing that matters.
It was the 20th time in this season's 29 league matches that Gillingham had kept the ball out of their net. Keeper Jim Stannard has let in just 10 league goals, and he's on course to beat the record currently held by Barnet manager Ray Clements. He conceded 16 for Liverpool in the 78-79 season.
He's having a tremendous season, still only conceded 10 goals, and he's got an outstanding chance if the defence carries on playing like that, he'll beat my record.
Going into the game with Hereford, Gillingham held an 8-point advantage at the top of the 3rd division. This success, though, has its price in the form of 78 yellow cards and 6 red. 2 questions, then. Just how physical are the Gills? And are the referees letting their record influence their judgment?
I'm aware that Gillingham are top at the moment and Hereford aren't, but I think you look at each game on its merits. You can look at a game and perhaps try and preempt something, and you'll have a very quiet afternoon, and reverse is true. You could think you're going to have a quiet afternoon and you might have a very difficult match. So it's very little preparation in terms of preempting players or teams.
Well, in the words of Mandy Rice-Davies, he would say that, wouldn't he? The fans, however, have a different view.
I think half of it's the referees, really. They're inconsistent, not standard. That's the problem.
The quality and standard of referees in this division is diabolical.
Gillingham are a physical team, but football is a physical game, and it's tough when you're at the top. You need hard men.
When you're up there, everybody wants to beat you. I mean, no exception today. I mean, Hereford are coming here, as I said earlier. They all want to beat us. Everyone wants to knock the top dog off the pedestal. And we realise that, and as I say, we just keep trying to keep our feet firmly back, on the floor and do a good job.
Dave Martin knows what it takes to get out of the 3rd division and is leading from the front in his role as Gillingham skipper, taking up a pivotal role in the centre of the park when the team go forward, and then helping out at the back with tackles that are certainly not for the faint-hearted. And Gillingham needed their fighting qualities after a confident Hereford took the lead through Dean Smith after 32 minutes. The Gills' defence giving Smith far too much time and space, and Jim Stannard could do nothing. Gillingham chances were at a premium, their best of the first half falling to Steve Castle, but it wasn't to be. After the break, the 3rd division leaders picked up their pace and played with much more urgency, but still failed to create little. That was until debut boy Steve Castle conjured up this gem. Castle's on a month's loan from Birmingham, and if he scores many more goals like this, Gills fans won't let him out of the county. Not a vintage performance from the Gills, but it was one of those games that you must get something out of, and you do that through team spirit, commitment, and yes, the will to win the physical battle.
We never played well at all, but we dug in, as I say, and we'll be there at the end of the year.
And I think they're a strong side, play with a lot of purpose, they're a threat from set pieces, and I've had no doubt since early season that they would finish up top of the table.
The third division leaders were finding the going tough at the top. They went a goal down at struggling Cardiff in the 71st minute. Carl Dale, the scorer. Gillingham's fourth away defeat in the league was confirmed a minute from time. Defender Mark Harris with an own goal. Gills lead at the top down to 3 points, but they're still 12 ahead of the promotion playoff zone. Gillingham consider anything other than victory disappointing. Steve Castle almost set them on their way against Scunthorpe, but it was a rare blank day for the Gills frontmen. Dennis Bailey thwarted by the keeper. And Scunthorpe almost nicked it in the final minute. John Eyre cleverly found a gap for Tony Ford, but the opening was wasted. A goalless draw.
The month started well with wins over Torquay and Barnet, but injuries and suspensions beginning to take their toll on the Gills, and 3 games without a win at the end of the month, giving manager Tony Pulis something to think about. Nonetheless, the Gills still flying high, and the likes of Ray Clements and Graham Turner saying the boys are on their way into the 2nd division. Leo's still the Gills' leading scorer, but how about this strike from Steve Castle for Gillingham's goal of the season? Pick that one out.
Into March, and a desperate first half brought the slow hand clap from the crowd. Littered with free kicks and totally lacking in shape, neither side looked worthy promotion candidates. This was one of Plymouth's better efforts. Gillingham, just 2 wins in their last 6 matches, created the best chance of the half. Neil Smith's long throw headed back to Steve Castle. The shot rocked the bar with the keeper well beaten. Plymouth relieved to hack the ball clear. The succession of free kicks continued. Jim Stannard can handle these all day. Right on the stroke of half-time, Plymouth at last strung a move together. Richard Littlejohn setting up Paul Williams, who shot wide. In the second half, Plymouth piled on the pressure with Paul Williams' cross setting up Mickey Evans, his shot blocked. Storming rung by Patterson put Littlejohn in the clear. He whipped in the perfect cross, but not the perfect finish. Littlejohn was finding oceans of space, and this time his cross took a deflection into the path of Martin Barlow. He fired Plymouth into the lead. Gillingham's drive for promotion starting to stutter. A 1-0 defeat at home park. That was a big game. This one was the division's biggest match of the season so far. Before their arrival, the teams have been talking tactics.
As you know today, Gillingham versus Preston. It's a big match. Gillingham at the moment are first in the league, Preston the second. We also anticipate that the ground will be full, and it's quite possible that the Rainer men will be locked out before the start of the match.
With a capacity crowd expected, strategies off the pitch take on extra importance.
I think all we're asking is that it's a good game, that the fans enjoy themselves, and at the end of the day everyone goes away feeling that they've had a good time out and we haven't had to arrest anybody or deal with any motorists that have caused problems. That's wishful thinking, but I think that's the sort of result we're looking for.
If they look at the game, then they can't be a steward. It really is as simple as that. On the briefing, the very first thing we tell them, if you come to see the game, well, you better go outside and come in and play a game, because you're here to look at the crowd.
Under the watchful eye of the authorities, fans inside are well behaved. But for the first time this season, there's trouble in the streets from those who've been locked out. Those lucky enough to have tickets see Gillingham almost make a stunning start. Steve Castle's shot came after just 7 seconds. But Preston have the country's most prolific attack, and it took Gills keeper Jim Stannard to sort out some early defensive confusion. The big man is commanding in the box, and despite his size, pretty mobile too. Graham Atkinson denied 0-0 at half-time. Gillingham ripped into Preston at the start of the second half, but then was shaken by the classic sucker punch. The Kent club's defenders caught forward, and Steve Wilkinson finding space to break. Paul Birch and Simon Davey outsprinted the home players down the centre, and Davey, with 48 minutes gone, put Preston on course for the top spot. And they should soon have extended that lead, but Ian Bryson squandered one good chance, and Wilkinson wasted another a minute later. Gillingham, though, are leaders for many reasons, not least their ability to battle, and Mark Harris snatched a draw with 14 minutes to go that keeps them 3 points ahead of the rest. 1-1 the final score.
I think it's going to be very nip and tuck now, right up until the end of the season. It's just keeping your nerve. They've given us a very, very good game today. It was very, very competitive. I think they've got some good players. They've got their full team. We're still 2 or 3 short of ours. So when they come back, I'm confident we could take anybody on and beat them.
We can't worry about anybody else. We know as long as we can start winning games, which we've not been doing over the last week, 2 weeks, we'll be in with a shout for promotion.
And like both sides' players, the third team in action at the match felt they'd got a reasonable result.
Very pleased with the way that the fans behaved inside the ground. There were some minor problems outside, and we were concerned that that might have had an effect during the game. But I have to say the true fans behaved themselves very well, and it was good to see at the end of the match that the players shook each other's hands, and that did have a good calming effect on the fans themselves.
But Gillingham are struggling despite leading the third division table. It's 6 games since they won, and most fans would have backed them to take all 3 points away to bottom club Torquay. But they played out a stalemate with neither side able to create a real opening. Both keepers made the odd save or two, but Gillingham's recent run of scoring twice in their last 6 matches wasn't improved upon. Leo Fortune West went closest to finding the net, but the game ended goalless. But don't despair, Gillingham still top. They then went to Mansfield and scored the only goal of the game midway through the first half. John Gale scoring on his debut to put Gillingham on their way to their first win in 7 matches. And keeper Jim Stannard secured the victory with another clean sheet, his 23rd in 36 league outings. Gillingham stayed top, promotion drawing ever nearer. It's hard to believe it's just a year since Gillingham were in receivership and perilously close to the bottom of the league. Now the players are adored, the team are top of Division 3, and they've even got a popular chairman. The progress made under Paul Scally has delighted the man who handed over control.
I couldn't believe the way it's been turned around. I'm pleased with the management team, Tony Pulis, the way the players have responded. But the first thing I'm so pleased with is the fans. They really have rallied round, and the gate's been tremendous.
Well, 23rd of March last year was when I first saw on television that the club was still in difficulty, and decided the next day to call the receivers, and subsequently saw the next game on the 25th of March. And here I am today, year on. Full house, hopefully, big crowd, lovely sunny day, top of the league. Looking very good at the moment.
Scally's captured the community's imagination and can do no wrong. Yesterday he upped admission prices, the extra cash for the school in Scotland where a gunman wrought havoc.
People seem to class football as like a hooligan supported, but no, it's a good thing.
I mean, it's a tragedy that's affected the whole nation. I mean, I can't say that just because we're football people that it's not affected us.
Very good charity, very good cause. Excellent.
What do you think of the way this club's being run at the moment with things like this?
Being around Paul Scally, good man, mate, top man. Can't beat him, can you?
On to the match, and Gillingham knew they needed a win, with second-place Preston keeping up the pressure. They almost made an early breakthrough against Orient. Dave Putnam's cross, Neil Smith inches off target. The Londoners' goal was often under threat. Mark Harris the next to go close. And 11 minutes before the break, John Gale forced the Orient keeper into action once again. 0-0 at half-time, but 9 minutes after the break, Gills took the lead they deserved. Gale's second goal in as many matches. The striker, on loan from Stoke, says he'd be happy with a permanent move to Gillingham. He's not doing his cause any harm. Gills appeared to be cruising, and Gale almost volleyed another, but the keeper's positioning impeccable. Orient hardly had a decent shot throughout, but 3 minutes from the end they stunned the home supporters. Keeper Jim Stannard felt the ball went out, but Colin West's cross was met by former Gills player Andy Arnott for an equaliser and an almighty headache. 1-1 the final score.
Got a little scratch on the inside of my face there, but well worth it. I'll get one of these every week, I'll score every week. So.
Bit of a scratch, you say? It's a massive lump there.
I look like the Elephant Man at the moment, so yeah, it's a bit of an headache, but hopefully that'll go away.
Felt terrible really, because I think maybe 2 or 3 minutes to go, and we've blown it, because then, you know, all the top teams have won again today, and it would have put us a couple more points clear of them. Unfortunately, we've only picked up a point today, so next week the Rochdale game is very important for us.
Gillingham were looking to put an end to a poor run when they went to mid-table Rochdale. 11 minutes into the game, the Northerners took the lead, aided a little by poor marking from the Kent side's defenders. Red-shirted Gillingham weren't going to give up without a fight, though. Richard Green close with a header. Gillingham's defence has been as solid as a rock all season, conceding just 16 goals in 37 previous league matches, the best record in the country. But a second lapse allowed Rochdale to score again, and Gills on their way to defeat. They stuck to the task, though, and thought they'd scored, but Steve Butler's effort ruled offside. A 2-0 defeat, Gillingham stays second, 3 points behind the leaders.
The worst month of the 95-96 campaign, with the Gills really hitting trouble. Just a 1 win against Mansfield, and the players and supporters' nerves being put to the test. That said, Gillingham in the box seat as far as promotion goes, with a 5-point lead over 4th place Darlington, but a Preston getting away at the top. John Gale arrives on loan from Stoke and makes an immediate impact with goals against Mansfield and Orient.
The first game in April, both teams began nervously. It was a game neither could afford to lose. Gillingham threatened early on, although Steve Butler didn't really test the visiting keeper. And Kevin Rattray also had a go. But it was Gillingham's Jim Stannard who was the busier of the two goalkeepers. His determination to equal the club record of 24 clean sheets in a season was evident. His superb first-half form continued after the break. There was a lack of penetration at the other end that prevented a Gillingham victory. Andy Answer nearly set up Dennis Bailey, and Bailey went close with another effort, but ended up shooting wide when a pass to Answer might have been the better option. Not the most exciting goalless draw, but Big Jim was happy to equal the club record of 24 games without conceding a goal.
They're very pleased 24 clean sheets, so at the end of the day I can't complain. But we've only got to put the ball in the back of the net at the other end, and we'll start picking up a few more points.
I'm enjoying this. This is you know, it's pressure, and you know we're desperate to go up, and we want to go up. But it's nice pressure. I'd rather be here than like struggling at the bottom and being in Torquay's position.
You can forgive Gillingham fans for needing a stiff drink before the match. Their side, once 8 points clear, has slipped to second in Division 3. Gillingham have got the jitters.
United, Newcastle, Swindon, we're at the top. Everybody's trying to knock them off. Same here at Gillingham.
Well, I think everybody would be disappointed after being top for so long for not going up as champions, but we'll settle for one of the top 3 places, I'm sure.
Well, it's a fairly difficult one because after today we've only got the 2 home games left, which is Exeter and Scarborough at the end of the season. But I feel our chances are fairly good.
Regulars in the press box believe Gills will make automatic promotion. Tony Hudd's covered the club for more than 20 years.
We all knew they were going to hit a sticky spell. Obviously, they would have preferred that a little earlier rather than now. But I think they've got the character there. I mean, as we speak today, they're only missing 2 key players, Dave Martin and, of course, Mark O'Connor, who's still recovering from a broken leg. The manager's virtually got a full complement of players from which to select. The competition's really hotted up, and I see no reason why they can't get back there.
Mid-table Hartlepool have nothing to play for, so this seemed the right setting to start the revival. Gills hadn't won at home for almost 2 months. The striker Steve Butler almost settled everybody's nerves after just 4 minutes. And his partner up front, John Gale, looked sharp after serving a 2-match suspension, desperately close to netting his 3rd in as many appearances. Hartlepool were always second best, especially in the tackle. The main culprit, Mick Tate. His foul on Richard Green collected a caution. But the visitors almost sneaked an undeserved lead. Gills keeper Jim Stannard and the post combined to keep them out. Then the Gillingham breakthrough. Putnam's corner headed home superbly by Tony Butler. And look for the keeper's furious row with player boss Keith Hoochin. Goalie Brian Horn was substituted at half-time. All far from happy in the Hartlepool camp, especially as Tate's raised elbow got him sent off just before the break. Hartlepool's 13th red card this season. The second half was less exciting, but Gills got another. Putnam's shot well saved by the young substitute keeper Stephen Jones. A real mess on the edge of the box until another sub, Dennis Bailey, took charge and netted within 2 minutes of his introduction. Bailey's first goal in 27 matches, and he could have had a second soon after. Set up by Putnam's run and cross, but Gills had to be satisfied with 2-0.
All the commotion that's been going on, the lads haven't really taken a lot of notice of it. We've done what we'd like to do. We keep a clean sheet and score a couple of goals. We'd like to have scored a couple more, but a couple of goals will do us in the 3 points.
We've got some important games coming up. Doncaster will be a hard game away.
and it's good that players are like hitting form, and competition for places is hard. So hopefully this will put some good stead for the last few games.
And that's what it did. Gillingham kept up the good work with another win over Doncaster Rovers. Leo Fortune West thrusting run, setting up Dennis Bailey for his second Easter present in 3 days. Maximum points for Gillingham. They're right back on course for promotion. Doncaster 0, Gillingham 1. Mid-table Exeter provided surprisingly stubborn opposition for Gillingham next. It was the second half before a swift 1-2 had them panicking, but Kevin Rattray couldn't finish. Then a flash of brilliance at the other end from John Sharp, a shot his brother Lee would have been proud of at Man United. With 15 minutes left, the tension was finally broken. A deep cross from Dennis Bailey laid back by John Gale for Dave Putnam to crash home the winner. Gillingham have the title firmly back in their sights. Although the Kent team were back at the top of the 3rd division, they earned their point the hard way at Colchester. After Leo Fortune West came close in the first half, the Gills took the lead on the hour. Neil Smith's long throw wasn't cleared, and after a little bit of head tennis, it was John Gale who eventually scored. Colchester, who are also in the promotion race, fought back well, and Mark Kinsella hit a post. And in the 64th minute, they went one better with a well-crafted equaliser. Tony Adcock's control and fine cross. Scott McLeish with the goal. 20 minutes left, Neil Smith's tackle flattened Tony Adcock. The referee showed him the red card for a second bookable offence. Smith didn't want to go. Adcock was stretchered off with damage to his ankle ligaments, which could keep him out for the rest of the season. Gillingham feel Smith's dismissal was harsh. It's the club's 8th red card of the season and Smith's 2nd. It needed some desperate defending by the Gills at the end, Mark Harris clearing off the line, but they held on to that oh-so-precious point. Northampton away next. A win would guarantee promotion for the Gills. It felt more like a home game. Nearly 2,000 Success Staff supporters had made the trip north from Kent. The Hordes had followed their heroes to celebrate the crowning moment of Gillingham Football Club's most incredible season.
Now you're gonna believe us, now you're gonna believe us, now you're gonna believe us. The Gills are going up.
We've been positive all season, and today will be no different. We're going into the game to win it. I make no mistake about that.
Are they really going to do it today?
Definitely today, and they're going to win the 3rd division.
Been waiting 32 years for this season. It's got to be the season.
The lads are confident, boisterous, happy. Yes, definitely.
Do you think Gillingham are going to get promoted?
Yes! Quite a transformation. A season ago, Gillingham were 24 hours from extinction. Now they were an hour and a half away from Division 2. The Gills needed an early goal to settle their nerves, and they got one. 8 minutes gone, Dennis Bailey feeds Neil Smith on the overlap. His cross eludes the Northampton defence, but not Leo Fortune West, Gillingham's shooting star. Northampton do little to trouble record-breaking goalkeeper Jim Stannard in the early stages. Everything's going according to plan. Gillingham have a great chance to extend their lead when Bailey latches on to a flick from John Gale. But Woodman makes a fine save. Pressure? What pressure? Gillingham's fancy footwork appears to be taking them to the 2nd division. Second half, though, and the nerves begin to show. Stannard is beaten. Only the post saves him and his side. Northampton well on top. Who'd be a manager at a time like this? 66 minutes gone and Northampton are level. Gillingham failed to clear a free kick. Chris Burns hits a sweet volley. And by the end, the Gills are struggling to hold on. 1-1, 1 point. This is not the day that Gillingham win promotion.
When you're winning 1-0 away from home, normally we can hold it, but today we never. So really, it's 2 points dropped.
We're so disappointed. We're still going up anyway, so... We feel a bit gutted at the moment.
We'll win next week, so I think we'll be up next week, no problem.
I think it's just another step along the road. We just thought we might have done it here today. It looks like we won't do it here today. It looks like we'll have to do it now next week. But we'll do it for sure.
If anybody had said to me that we'd have been second at this time, or at the beginning of the season, with a couple of games to go and almost looking certain to be promoted, then I'd have been very, very surprised, very, very pleased.
A subdued journey back to Priestfield though, 2 games left and only 2 points for promotion. But for now, the champagne stays on ice. 4,500 supporters made the trip from Kent for the clash with Fulham that could take the side into Division 2. That's more than Fulham's average home attendance this year. If they come to see a sequel to the horror show at Priestfield earlier in the season, when 10 players were booked and 2 from Fulham sent off, they were mistaken. All smiles before the kick-off and not a single booking afterwards. Gillingham had the best chances in a scrappy match. Good work from Leo Fortune West gave Dennis Bailey a chance, but he shot wide. Then Fortune West's effort was palmed round the post. The most miserly defence in the country, Big Jim Stannard, returning to the club where he spent 13 years, was barely troubled. Second half, a free kick from Dave Martin, and the shot from Glenn Thomas flew just over the bar. But Gillingham can now forget the missed opportunities and concentrate on their first promotion in 22 years. But no celebrations until Meridian breaks the news.
Just heard the final score. Exeter and Bury have drawn, so you've been promoted. How do you feel? How do you feel?
Cheers, mate. Congratulations.
How do you feel?
Ecstatic. Lovely. Yeah, really good.
You've been promoted. Well done.
Thank you very much. Right, is it for sure? Hey, chairman! I can't put it into words. It's just like a dream, really, to be quite honest. Right.
Another clean sheet. It's been a perfect season for you.
Yeah, 28 now. Let's see if anyone can beat that one now. So, anyway, let's look forward to Division 2 now. Yeah!
But from the manager who's transformed a team on the verge of extinction, a typically more subdued reaction.
We're disappointed we never won the game, to be honest, but we didn't realise the result had gone for us until we got in a dressing room and you heard the big cheer. It's been a smashing season. The supporters have been absolutely magnificent, and we're pleased that we're promoted.
Dressing room delirium, even if the bubbly refuses to budge. But the champagne feeling is flowing finally for the supporters. Preston's victory means Gillingham can't go up as champions, but that won't spoil the promotion party. So will the chairman win his big money bet and play in the final game?
Who's selected? I don't know. It's I'll have to look at it tomorrow. It doesn't all sink in at the moment. It's been a magnificent day, really, and you can see my suit's been destroyed. The lads are giving me some kit to wear. I'll worry about next week in a week. It'll take a few days to sink in, you know, and it's a credit really to the people that have worked so hard that we managed to achieve such a tremendous thing in the first season.
Well, Fulham as a day is a day that will be etched in my heart forever. I just remember feeling completely and utterly relieved, I think. You know, it was just like we'd achieved something that we really believed we could achieve. And I looked at the faces of the supporters and it was all for them, really. I mean, at the end of the day, we are what we are as a football club and we're all one. You know, it's not just me, it's not the staff, it's not the players, the manager, it's the supporters, really. And they make up the team, because without them we don't have anything.
Gillingham back from the brink. Less than a year ago they were in danger of going out of business, and by the 27th of April 1996 they'd won the right to play in the second division. With one game to go, the championship was as good as lost, so the last game at Priestfield was a chance for the fans and players to enjoy a much-deserved promotion party. Dennis Bailey was back to his best, and key goals against Hartlepool and Doncaster saw the Gills home.
So to the final game of an exhausting season. Gillingham chairman Paul Scally greeted the fans. A packed crowd of over 10,000 cheered the chairman, and the club ended their season by celebrating promotion from Division 3 at home to Scarborough. It wasn't much of a game, that wasn't really the point of the afternoon, but Leo Fortune West ended the campaign as leading scorer when he headed in goal number 15 of the season. A great return from a player whose £5,000 transfer fee was paid for by the fans who took him to their hearts. A 1-0 win to finish the season as third division runners-up.
Nothing at stake in the game against Scarborough, but it was great to end the season with win number 23. The campaign will be one that no Gills supporter will forget. 46 games played, 23 won, 17 drawn and just 7 lost. Far and away the most impressive statistic. Just 20 goals conceded against 49 scored. Leo finished the season as he started it with a goal, his 15th of the campaign, and the Gills' top scorer. On the Monday after the Scarborough game, thousands of Gills fans lined the streets of the Medway towns as the promotion-winning squad took to the road in an open-top bus and said thanks to the fans. Little doubt about Gillingham Football Club. They're alive and kicking. Time to bring on the best the second division can offer.
Well, what a fascinating 18 months it's been, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, we've had some cracking football along the way. Full credit, therefore, to Chairman Paul Scally for putting the club around, but perhaps the man more responsible than any other for the club's success is the Division 3 Manager of the Year, Tony Pulis.
I knew the potential that was in and around this area. It's a massive catchment area, and if you got the place going, then the people would come out and respond. It was a case of having, obviously, confidence in my own ability. And the only thing I wanted from Paul was a guarantee that if I did bring players in, Jeff, that he would give me the time to work with the players and develop the players and hopefully get the results.
Your first task, I guess, was to get some players in. Big Jim, the goalkeeper, Leo Fortune West. What a couple of cracking signings they turned out to be.
Yeah, Leo was, in non-league football and had been around a little bit, and there was a few clubs or football league clubs who were sniffing around. I think Barnet were very, very close to signing him. But we just, as soon as I got the job, as soon as I knew I was in the job, then I don't mind taking a gamble, especially with non-league boys, because I think they've got a point to prove, Jeff. And he was, along with Rattray, he came out in non-league, and Leo did smashing. I'd always rated Big Jim Stannard, and it does, and it should worry Jim. It worries me, or it did worry me, that he'd never played higher, because potentially he's as good as anything in the country. People talk about his size and his weight and everything else, but he's so agile, and he's got massive hands, and they're safe hands. And as soon as I found out that, I got the list through and he was a free transfer, that, he was almost the first person I rung up. But there was other players. Dave Martin, who was, captain, was a free transfer from Bristol City and did a magnificent job for us. Simon Radcliffe, another free transfer. Mark O'Connor, who did very, very well up until he was injured. He was a free transfer. So we got 7 or 8 free transfers in, Jeff. And we were lucky it all gelled together nice and neatly, and they got on well in the dressing room. And I've got all my hand up. Dave Martin was magnificent in that respect. He really got people together, and there was a spirit that was generated really early doors.
Can you remember when you first got a tingle, saying to yourself, I think we've got something here, we're going to go up?
I think the thing that really turned the dressing room round, and the thing that got everybody going, and everybody really stood up and thought, well, something's going to happen there, is when we signed Dennis Bailey. I think Dennis had been he's a named player, scored an hat-trick at Old Trafford for QPR, and was quality. And when we signed him for, 50,000, which was, and it is peanuts, really, I think that made a hell of a lot of people in the dressing room realise that we were going to have a go this year. And the game at Lincoln, when we beat Lincoln 3-0, was most probably footballing-wise our best performance all season. We played some smashing football, and it was coupled with three goals. So that was a great result, and I think it almost convinced people then that we were going to be in with a chance of doing well this season.
Having had all that wonderful success, how do you make it even better with a new season?
Well, I think that it's going to be very, very difficult next season. I think if you look at the second division, the clubs in the second division, and the amount of money that people are spending, you've got Millwall, Luton and Watford who have come down into the division, who were Premier League clubs only a few years ago. So they're going to be strong. I look at Watford's squad, and they've got 35, 36 players. At the moment, we've lost a few players through freedom of contract and whatever. We're at this present time working with about 17 professionals. So we've got to really work hard to get some more quality in. It's going to be an interesting season. I think it's going to be a cracking season for the supporters, because there's some great games. There's a lot of local derbies. I think there's about 6 or 7 games where I would hope, if we were doing reasonably well, that we might fill the place. The games against Wickham, we've got Brentford, Luton, Watford, Millwall, the 2 Bristol clubs. There's some good games And, you know, I'm really looking forward to it. It's a challenge for me, and it's a new challenge for the players. And, you know, I worked for a couple of years in the division with Bournemouth, and there is a big difference. The grounds that you go to are better grounds. The playing tops are better, so you can play a lot more football. It'll be a change going to places like Bristol City and, you know, Watford and where there's good surfaces and big stadiums, irrespective, you know, of last year where we had to go to Scarborough, Hartlepool, Darlington, places like that. No disrespect to the clubs, but there's a big difference, Jeff. And so we need more quality, and it's just trying to squeeze it out of the chairman, squeeze his last bottom dollar out so I can get some more players in.
The time has come, today is the day. The time has come to show how we can play. We don't take things for granted. What we have is quite unique. To work hard for each other is the first goal that we seek. Come on, come on, dream up, dream up. We know we have to do all we can for you. Win, 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 you choose. We work so well together. We'll remember today forever. The world's a smaller place than it was when we were young. Now we're meeting teams from far and wide. So how we play today will echo around the world. To be the best is the root of our success. Come on, dream up, dream up. You know we're gonna do the best we can for you. Win, 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 you choose. Ooh, everywhere, everyone will be talking about what we've done.
The nice thing about football is that Premier League is there, and it's a goal we all have, and it's an ambition we have, and we could all be there. You've got to look at clubs like Wimbledon, as people keep telling me. People like clubs like Coventry that have managed to sustain it and hang in there. And the big boys can come out just the same as the small boys can go up. And that's been proven this year with QPR and Man City, obviously. So who knows?